What's going on, YouTube? My name is Mr. Crippled, and today I'm going to be bringing you my soul guide. Now, before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep up with any future content, I will be leaving a link to my Discord in the description below. Now, Soul is a very cool auto god now, especially with how they changed how scalings work in this game, making her a lot more viable as a carry and even still scary as a mid. But her kit can be a little bit confusing to understand with the heat mechanic and how to maintain it, and so I wanted to go ahead and go over her abilities, her passives, and how to build her. As usual, I'm going to be starting with her passive, Unstable Manifestation. Basically, as she hits abilities, uses abilities, or hits autos, she will gain heat. And the higher her heat, she gains increased strength, intelligence, attack speed, and at max heat, her basic attack damage is also increased. So very, very powerful passive for for basically a hunter to have, just gaining passive power as you're playing the game. And plus it gives a whopping 15% increase to basic attack damage once your heat is maxed out. But it is a little bit difficult to maintain if you're not hitting autos or using abilities properly. But it's still really simple. It's still really simple to maintain, just difficult to. Next, I want to go over her abilities. Again, I want to go over in terms of usefulness, and it's no different from this god. However, I do believe all three of her abilities are pretty decently equal in usefulness. The two being the most useful. However, if I had to pick one, it would probably be the one. The one is a sustainability. The higher your heat gauge is, the bigger the radius on your one is going to be. And it does heal you over time and generates heat, while also doing pretty baby damage per tick if they're standing in this ability. And this ability does scale mostly with intelligence, so if you're going to build a mage build, this ability will hit pretty decently hard. However, in a lot of cases, even though this is going to be the second ability you level, this ability is not nearly as important as how to manage her 3, and I'm going to go ahead and showcase what her 1 looks like now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and showcase this as, it's going to be a little bit longer to showcase, but at base with no heat, this has a very small radius, but the healing is still basically is exactly the same. If you use it here, you'll get a pretty significant amount of heat. Now this is at max level, so take that with a grain of salt. Usually it doesn't do that much at level 1, but it's still pretty decently sized. If you auto a bit, build up heat, you can see the radius does get bigger, and then once it's maxed out, once it is maxed out, you can see the radius is pretty huge now, and it does pretty decent tick damage once you start building intelligence into it. But since most people are going to be building her like a hunter anyway, the damage off of it really isn't all that important. What you're mostly using it for is to build up your heat. But it can help at least a little bit with the clear and help with her DPS later on in the game. Up next, I want to talk about Soul's 3. Now, I do think this is way more important to talk about over her 1 because it's probably, even though it's really simple to use, you just press it and you live, it's a little bit more complicated to use. And it's her only source of survivability, but it's a very annoying source of survivability. Basically, what this does, when you cast this, she gains a little bit of she gains some movement speed, and she leaves a trail of fire behind her that does damage if you step over it. And then after the ability is done casting, you become a little itty bitty ball of fire, which you're damage immune and your CC immune. The problem is that your movement speed is also reduced by a lot. Like, I think you're dang near at 20% movement speed while this ability, while you're in the ball form of this ability. But the trade-off is that you can't be hurt and you can't be CC'd. So knowing when to use this ability properly is going to be really integral to her kit. Also, because it gives her movement speed, you can use this to close distances on other hunters or mages. and then just bully them, and then immediately go into the CC immunity, making to where when they actually finally try to fight back against you, none of their abilities do damage, and then you can cancel it so you can do damage. Another cool thing about this ability is that it now also passively gives you heat while you're using this ability. So before in Smite 1, you would use this ability and then your heat passive would slowly go away since you're not really doing anything within this. Now, because this does give you heat while it's casting, your heat won't go away as quickly, which is a nice change. And then next, I want to go ahead and showcase the ability. Now, this isn't one of those abilities where you can just show, because the second you press the ability, it basically activates. But you can see I'm slowly getting heat, and then I become this little ball of fire. And during that little ball of fire, you are CC immune and damage immune. But while you're in that ball of fire, that's when your heat can actually start to dissipate. But still really nice nonetheless. Pretty decent run move. And it looks like I'm actually incorrect about something. It looks like they took away the movement speed penalty while you're in your 3. So this move has become probably one of the better run moves in the game, since it does damage and you still keep your regular movement speed while you're in the ball form. So still use it sparingly. It is on a fairly longer cooldown for a run escape move, but it's double-edged, so still a really powerful one nonetheless. Up next, I want to talk about her 2. Now, this is Soul's main damaging ability, and going to be your go-to for most engagements. It's your poke, it's your clear, it's your kill confirm, besides your ultimate, obviously. And this ultimate is really straightforward, generates a pretty decent amount of heat whenever you use it. It does not go through walls, but will stop on the first enemy hit, whether it's a god or a minion. And when it hits that person, it becomes a big AoE and does 2 hits of damage. Basically, the initial burst out, and then the collapse back in. So definitely going to be the first ability you're going to be leveling, and then your 1 is going to be the second. But this is going to be your the first ability you get, and the first ability that you're going to be leveling all the way. And then now I want to go ahead and showcase the ability. Basically, you pop it, and it's going to affect your next auto. It's not something you just kind of channel, but the second you pop it, it's going to be readily available. And then all you have to do is just click R1, and then the first enemy hit, as you can see, it does 2 hits of damage, the first initial, and then the retraction of the ability. And it's on a pretty low cooldown, so this is going to be something that you're spamming as often as possible. And then last but not least, I'm going to go over her ultimate. Now, her ultimate is a little bit complicated. It hits 8 times. The first time an enemy god is hit, no matter what part the ultimate is in, they are knocked into the air. And the weird thing about the ultimate is that when you cast it, you kind of have to move your camera to get the other hits to move around. So you kind of have to preemptively aim the ult initially on top of the person, and then the pattern they're going to take. That way they take the maximum damage possible from the ultimate. It does generate heat. The only problem with this ultimate as well is that any subsequent hit that the person takes outside of the first hit, they only take 30% of the initial damage. So still hits pretty decently hard and a good kill confirm ultimate. You can use this to engage just to get as much damage out as possible when fighting somebody. But this ultimate can be a little awkward to aim. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and showcase this ability. The first initial hit is nice if you kind of just leave it there and you cast the ult. All the hits of the ultimate are going to be hitting in that exact same location. If you want to move the ultimate while the ultimate is casting, you basically have to move your camera. As you can see, it moves in that little cone that you do. So again, it can be a little bit awkward to move. You can just leave the ultimate in that one spot. That way all the hits hit the same location. And that is a really welcome change that they have from the first one, because compared to Smite 1, it used to just go in a complete straight line. Now they can all hit in a targeted area, which is really nice. So definitely a welcome change with the ultimate, but again, can be really difficult to hit every single part of the ult. And then finally, I want to go ahead and go over her builds. Now, if you want to focus her more for abilities, making the ult hit harder, making the one hit harder, or making the ultimate hit harder, well, the ultimate, the two, and the one hit harder, you're going to want to build like Sands of Time, Conduit Gem, and all the standard intelligence items that you would normally build. So Book of Thoth would be nice, Doom Orb, right out to Hootie. The only main difference is that you still want to have a little bit of attack speed in this build, so Bragi's Harp would be really nice, and Bracer of the Abyss. Both of those would be really good for her if you're trying to go more auto-focused. Demonic Grip is also really nice to make her abilities, and her basically make her abilities hit harder, while also making her autos deal fairly decent amounts of damage. Obsidian Shard, Totem of Death is kind of negligible on her, but you can still build this on her if you want to. Spirit Deso, basically all the standard intelligence items. And then again, if you're going to go the intelligence build, I still highly recommend building Polynomicon. That way, whenever you cast an ability, your next auto will do more damage regardless of the fact that it scales mostly with strength. However, if you want to build her as a hunter, kind of like with my last Ymir video, you want to build strength since her autos are actually scaled with strength. So building Death Toll for the sustain is also really nice. Building Leather Scout, either one of these two would work. When it comes to the actual build, you have one or two options. If you want more sustain, Devourer's Gauntlet is nice. In most cases, since you're going to be building her like a hunter, Devils is going to be the go-to. If you want just kind of like the raw power, Transcendence is also really nice to have on her since it gives her mana and gives her equally amount of strength. You just lose the sustain. Other cards, again, Bragi's Harper is really nice on her. Executioner Quinsize, if you just want to have your autos hit as hard as possible against tanks and squishies, these two are going to be your go-tos. Your crit items, obviously, you're going to want to build every single one of these crit items. Death Metal, Deathbringer, Musashi's Dual Swords, Demon Blade, all these items. Just keep in mind, if you go the full crit route, you're going to be losing a little bit of damage when it comes to the tanks. But again, use that with a great assault. Another good card, Haste of Fatalis, is good on all the hunters right now, since it gives strength, attack speed, and pen, while also helping you ignore your basic attack movement speed penalty. So this paired with her 3 makes it really difficult to kind of run away from her. I would also recommend Bloodforge for a little bit of sustain and to be able to get some of your max HP back, so you can have a little bit of extra of defenses on top of yourself. But this is niche, so don't build this every time. You can still go Bragi's Harp with this build on either one just to get the extra magical damage, the extra bonus magical damage with this. But in all honesty, since I feel like the other cards are a little bit more bloated on her, so this could be niche, but can still be really welcome in any of her builds. Dagger Frenzy is also really nice on her if you're gonna go the more penetration route with Executioner and Quinn's Blade, since this gives a lot of basic attack damage and a lot of attack speed, so all these items are going to be really powerful on her. And that's going to be it for my soul video. If you have any other questions, again, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you would like to request any other god, again, just leave a comment in the comment section. I do appreciate all the support that y'all have been giving me, and y'all have a nice rest of your day, and catch you later.